Oh, hello. Can we please talk about Cage Warriors 148 took place at the weekend, Team Europe versus Team America. I made some picks and some predictions on the preview show on Thursday, I think it was. So I'm going to run through the card, just have a look at what happened, see how my bets went, and the winners and losers. All that good stuff. It's going to be quite a short one today because there is going to be another episode later on in the week. So for now, it's just going to be a quick recap of Cage Warriors 148. So, I had Sam Creasy defending his flyweight title, I think, flyweight, against Shaq Hack. That was an interesting fight, and I did say, actually, that it could go either way very easily, because both of those guys are very, very talented. The thing I like about Hack is his footwork is very, very hard to keep a read on. He's not a million miles away from the kind of unorthodox style of like Dominic Cruz, like where it's almost like a dance. You can't really quite get a bead on where he's going to be. And that paid dividends later on in the fight because he got a stunning knockout. It really was, because it was a relatively closely run fight. I was looking at it like, you can make a case for either guy here. I did think that we would see more of a grappling heavy attack from Sam Creasy. That did kind of surprise me a little bit. He seemed quite willing to just stand and trade with Hack, which I did think that was the path of... It wasn't the path of least resistance. The path of least resistance for me, for Creasy, was to find a scramble, get a takedown, and then attack that neck. Creasy's so good at attacking that neck. And that's what I thought we might see. But obviously I did acknowledge that Hack was extremely good at using his footwork to stay on the outside. It was largely Hack who kind of stayed on the outside. And that was a question that I did ask that was answered, to be fair. Because both guys, traditionally, when you watch their fights, they like to kind of fight around the outside. So it was going to be interesting to see who took the middle, took the centre, rather. And Creasy seemed to take the centre, whereas Hack kind of went around the outside. Nice lateral movement, and again ended up getting a really great KO. So new flyweight champion there. Tobias Harila, he's a really fun character. He comes down like he has this really elaborate entrance, like The Purge. You've seen the movie The Purge? Comes down with like he's got like a clown face on, and it's really great, but only if he wins. It's like, it looks all great, but then if he goes in there and gets battered. To be fair, he doesn't usually get battered. He could sometimes be on the losing end of things, but it's because he fights in quite a kind of fan-friendly way. If he keeps on putting on exciting performances, then they're going to keep putting him in because he's just going to get a following. And his performance on Saturday will really help that, because Tobias Harila, man, that was, for me, knockout of the night. I don't think they do. If they do knock out of the night, I would be shocked to see it be anyone else. Tobias Harila just knocked Damon Wilson stiff. On paper, that was a tricky matchup as well. Damon Wilson was undefeated going in. I thought a lot of the Europeans had tough matchups, but actually, overall, Team Europe did extremely well. It's lovely to see. Like I said, I don't wish any ill will to Team America. It's like, but yeah, the Europeans did a lot better than I thought they were going to do, if I'm totally honest. But particularly Tobias Harila, if you have a chance, go back and watch that fight and just watch that knockout. It is really nice. Sometimes everyone likes seeing a nice knockout, and that was a really good one. Wilson Hayes was I did think he was going to be on another level grappling, and he was. He was just too good for his opponent, really. He had a pretty easy night of it. And the main event, well, the new main event, because the original main event was cancelled, more on that in a moment. The new main event, Modestas Bukauskas against Chuck, was, it was a very good fight, to be fair. And Bukauskas just looked really, really good. He just looked really good. But for me, the main thing that I thought he might have trouble with was moving backwards. Since his knee surgery, it seemed like moving backwards, he wasn't quite as quick. But in fairness, he didn't really have to move backwards quite as much, because he his opponent wasn't pushing the pressure nearly to the extent that Lee Chadwick did back in November. So Modestus just looked, he looked back to his old ways. He really did. He was mixing it up well, and the strike that got it done was the one that I thought would get it done for him. Out of orthodox stance, he throws the right cross really, really well. Great defensive punch as well, because he's able to kind of block as he's throwing it, and it's a money. It is a money strike, that. So yeah, Bukauskas gets it done with exactly that strike as well. It's just, yeah, knocks his opponent out, and he needed that knockout win as well. So he's now the light heavyweight champion in Cage Warriors. He's likely to get another run at the UFC probably soon. If he has another fight in Cage Warriors, I'd be surprised. I think they're probably going to push for him to have another run in the UFC. And speaking of runs in the UFC, Christian Duncan versus Jesse Taylor was actually called off because it was a bit weird. Apparently Jesse Taylor was involved in a hit and run the day before and was in hospital or something. I haven't been able to find any news on that at all, like just what they said. And coincidentally, the UFC had already come calling for Christian Duncan, so they'd given him. Apparently, he's going to be fighting on the March card in the UFC. So that'll be interesting. I wanted to see if Christian Duncan could pass this test, though. That was the problem with him now skipping that fight. It's like, well, Jesse Taylor's a very high level wrestler who will bring that heavy wrestling style, and I don't know. I think it was actually a tough matchup on paper, because Christian Duncan, spectacular, very, very good. 7-0, but he's only got those 7 fights. That's not a massive amount of experience. He's also ended up in fights where people have indulged the kind of kickboxing. People have tried. Well, I think Curry tried to take him down a few times, and he did quite well. But he hasn't faced one of those elite level, like American style D1 wrestling, relentless style. And that can be a problem for somebody who's kickboxing heavy as Christian Duncan. Not saying that he wouldn't pass that test, because he may well have been too quick for Jesse Taylor, but because Christian Duncan, he's very fast and he's very powerful. And that's what you want to see, really. So, look, Christian Duncan is headed to the UFC. So we're going to see how. I'm interested to see who he gets matched up with. It's probably going to be somebody unranked, somebody that we've perhaps not really heard of. But it'll be interesting to see how he gets on against a wrestler, because we haven't seen him pass that test yet. Which is why I think it's weird that it seems almost a little bit too convenient that the main event was called off under such mysterious circumstances, and that means that he now kind of skips that fight, heads to the UFC. I don't know. My conspiracy theory alarm was going off on that one a little bit, because I couldn't find any details about the hit and run either, which is really weird. But anyway, hopefully we'll see Christian Duncan in March, and we'll see how he gets on. I would like to see, before I'm all in on Christian Duncan, I do want to see him against a high-level wrestler, just to see how he responds to that style. But that's all I've got time for this one, because I just wanted to recap that really quickly. If you could, please hit subscribe. That'd be massively appreciated. I'm going to be doing a kind of a New Year's rundown later on in the week of my favourite knockout submissions. All that good stuff. I'll be ranking them. I've already got a rough idea in my head of how they're going to go. But anyway, and I don't think there's any fights on this weekend. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Let's have a look. Is there any fights on this weekend? I don't know. I know that the next one is Gastelum versus Imavov, but that's the 14th of January. So yeah, no fights on this weekend either. So, well, until the 14th of January, I guess. Keep those odds long and those bets terrible.